Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show. We welcome you specially to our viewers on CityTube. We have a big show for you tonight. Minister for Food and Agriculture is joining us. The government launched PFJ 2.0 in Tamale earlier in the week. Honorable Bryan Acheampong is here to explain it in its full detail. If you enjoyed this interview, kindly share with your followers. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep watching CityTube and keep watching The Point of View on YouTube. So we're talking to Honorable Bryan Acheampong. He's the MP for Abetifi, and he's also the Minister for Food and Agriculture. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It was a surprise when your name came up for this ministry, because a lot of people did not associate you with food. So was it something you wanted, or can you give us some quick insight into how you agreed to be Minister for Agric?
Thank you, and good day to your listeners. I'm not too sure why people will not associate me with food, because I do eat food. So, but I can understand. It's managerial. We have work to do to improve production. We have a sector to reorganize. And therefore, I think the president looked at the energy required and so invited me to serve in his government, for which I'm grateful, and I think that I'm ready to lead.
So it's almost as if this is like a war situation where we need to revamp food production. Is it like a military approach to food production? Because don't forget, Operation Feed Yourself, Colonel Benasco was the one who brought it up. So there's always this sense in which when it comes to food production, the people who are involved must be more militant. Is that the background?
But I don't think it's a militancy. I think it's more of being an organizer, because you have quite a lot of people in the chain. It's more field work. It's more mobilizing both farmers and stakeholders up to the extreme academic research levels and bringing all together. So one must have that organizational and mobilizing skill. And most military people are trained in that way, and therefore it fits into it. And I know that some civilians have also done well. Indeed, the Operation Feed Yourself, the main manual was written by Safwedu before Benasco took over, and Safwedu was a PL civilian, and he orchestrated and documented the Operation Feed Yourself for Benasco and Co to take it up.
So let's start with the first few months. You've been in office for 4 months.
A little over 4 months.
Over 4 months. So how are you feeling the place? What's your most important observation? Because I listened to you in the vetting. You sounded very excited. We cannot be importing onions. We cannot be importing tomatoes. So that was a lot of interesting talk. But you've been there for 4 months. What have you seen since you got there?
Well, in the 4 months that I've been there, Bernard, we've done a lot of work. Even planting for food and jobs phase 2 in itself is not something that was organized in a week. Redesigning a whole new agricultural policy program and an implementation plan, meeting with almost all the stakeholders involved and bringing their inputs on board, meeting the economic management team on this to get their input, going to cabinet twice before it was signed off, and then getting it launched, all within a spade of 4 months. And that's not the only thing that we have done. We've gone through the cocoa board turnaround strategy, which is also something very, very major. We're doing things that have not been done since Cocoa Board was established, all in 4 months. We've tried some reorganization of the ministry itself, trying to align people, staff, civil servants to a clear objective that is being set. So I can go on with a couple of others, because jumping out of planting for food and job phase 1 into the phase 2, we still have some matters within phase 1 that we have to deal with. And to know that we have done all these things within 4 months is substantial work. Yes, we have the energy. It didn't take us a long time to understand the issues, because we have extremely efficient people in the ministry, led by the chief director and all the civil servants within that sector. I have not brought any new person except one or two technical advisors. Everybody else is a civil servant, and they understand the work. All they need is a leadership to drive it, and that is where we're going, and that's where you find the energy.
So what is the most important problem facing the sector?
Well, it's understanding where the problem is and how we deal with the problem. Getting the policymakers, which is the ministry people, to take responsibility of the issue. So, for example, I once had a staff there when the inflation figures came out the second day, and I asked a simple question. They said food inflation is up, and everybody is pointing hands at me. But you are in charge of crops. Do you bear any responsibility to what Ghanaians are talking about, or what statistical service is talking about? Because if they say food inflation is 40%, in the civil servant, in the private sector, you'll be fired, because it's called, in this case, non-performance. Getting people to understand that it is their responsibility to deal with the issues, or Ghanaians have taxed you, the civil servants, because the politicians are just leading. We come, we bring the policy, we introduce it to the civil servants who are in the Ministry of Agriculture. I am the only politician and my two deputies. The thousands of staff that we have in the local government service, such as the district directors of agriculture, the regional directors of agriculture, and my ministry staff, they are 100 times more than the politicians there, which is just the three of us. So getting that structure to understand that the problem is theirs, and therefore whether a politician comes or leaves, they have the responsibility to make sure that Ghanaians are fed, is one of the major things that I think we've been able to also deal with that. And that is what I saw.
So, but in terms of problem, some people think Ghana's major agri problem is that people don't have money, so there isn't enough finance. Some people say it's lack of productivity because yield per hectare is low. Some people think we import too much, and the importers have so much influence that they even influence the taste of Ghanaians to prepare imported food and sabotage. So there's a lot. So that's what I'm asking you. If you looked at that, what would be the most important constraint facing the sector?
Bernard, to be honest, that's what I've told you. Because that is the basis. Because if those charged with the responsibility see it as theirs, okay, and they're able to ramp up production, increase yield, all these market factors that you are talking about will be dealt with. If we are producing enough poultry in this country, it will not be profitable for the importers to bring in the chicken. If we are producing enough rice, I don't think that those who are bringing rice will find it necessary to bring it. Those are market factors, okay? Deal with your production, and all these ban this, stop importing this, will sort itself out, because it will not be profitable to do so. And definitely, look, even if we produce 200 times more than we consume, there are some Ghanaians who will have a taste of cheese. We don't produce cheese in this country. Do you understand? So definitely there'll be some Ghanaians who just want to have foreign pork. They want to have foreign chicken. They want to have foreign turkey. Well, if they do, they will pay the price for it. Okay, because it will come at a premium. If you go to America, they produce a lot of chicken, Purdue's and the likes, but they still bring in imported chicken. They produce a lot of beer, but they still, local example, in Ghana we produce a lot of beer. GBL, Accra Brewery, Guinness Ghana Limited. But people still buy Heineken. So if you go and see the price of Star Beer, Club Beer, and all those things, they are not as high as Heineken and Peroni and all those other kinds of beer. So notwithstanding your production level, there are still people who will have a taste, but that is why Heineken is almost twice the price of Star or Club Beer. You know, so, but those are market things that you don't really want to fight. What you want to do is to produce in the quantities that your citizens will need.
So you've used the word production many times in this interview. So can I say that your objective as minister for the next year and a half is production? Production,
that's what PFJ is all about. Ramp up production.
Wow.
The things that we eat, okay, ramp them up. Whatever it takes for us to ensure that production is up is what
But
the PFJ 2.0.
that is a tacit admission that the PFJ 1 was a failure.
No, it can't be.
Because the PFJ 1 objectives were basically what you are saying: increase agri production, ensure food security, promote import substitution, promote exports, value addition, etc., etc. We spent close to 3 billion cedis between 2017 and 2021 on this program. I'm sure we spent more if we add. So if 5 years later, you come and you are telling me we are doing PFJ phase 2, and then you are still doing the same objectives, right? You're saying ensure food availability, promote import substitution, promote food export. Basically, you are saying that phase 1 didn't do it.
I don't know where you're getting this analogy from.
From your document.
But are you queuing for maize? Are you queuing for rice? Are you queuing for...
But were we queuing for those before PFJ? We're not queuing for that at any time.
But we were importing 950,000 metric tons of rice per annum. Today, it is around 500,000 metric tons of rice. So PFJ has halved the importation of rice. Today, we produce more maize than we consume. Today, we produce more yam than we consume. Indeed, we are the largest exporter of yam in the world. How come you're not giving us credit for that? We produce more things. When you come to, example, plantain, which for us, we believe that the PFJ has catalyzed or ramped up this production. We produce more than we consume. So, indeed...
Let me take that. If you produce more maize than you consume,
yeah,
how come your poultry industry still struggles to get feed?
It has nothing to do with that.
It has everything to do with feed.
No. It has nothing to do with the production. We are not producing at the price that the poultry industry requires. That's different.
But if you produce more than you consume, then it means that there will be surplus, and the surplus price will come down.
No, it doesn't work like that, because there's also a fixed cost to production. And the farmers, the poultry farmers, are not able to buy the produce at those fixed costs. It doesn't necessarily mean that you make more money than you spend in a month. I believe you make more than you spend in a month, but you can't buy a Mercedes. That's just what it is.
My understanding is that
But Bernard, hold on.
Okay, I wanted to take you on the feed issue, because my understanding is that the high feed cost is 60 to 70% of the production cost of poultry, right? And feed cost is driven by maize and soya.
Delink it.
No, this is a.
You know, I'm saying that delink the oversupply of maize, which you are attributing to the high price of poultry feed. I'm saying that let's separate the two issues. First of all, I'm saying on authority that we produce more maize in this country than we consume. That's number one. Are the poultry farmers able to buy the maize at that price for the poultry industry? That is a completely different matter. So you cannot say that a program has failed, okay?
But you just said to me in the beginning of the interview that if you are producing food and food inflation is 40%, you, the man in charge of production, has failed. So the price of food is a direct consequence of production. So I don't know how you can then say that.
Bernard, hold on.
It's the same thing.
Hold on. See, if this inflation matter, and I'll come back to the
poultry issue,
the alleged failure of PFJ, but this inflation issue, the price of maize this month is 250 per 50 kg. Okay, if next year it stays at the same 250 Ghana, inflation will be zero. Did you understand?
Oh, of course, I know what inflation means.
Yes, so you cannot say that production and inflation has anything to do with undersupply, that the product is not there. Yes, the maize is on the market. Yes, we have produced more than we consume, and that is a fact. But the price of production, we were buying, you don't produce fertilizer in Ghana, and we were buying fertilizer at about 1,000 metric tons per 1,000 metric tons, $1,000 per metric ton last year. That was the price of today, and you need fertilizer to ramp up production. So that is a fixed cost. They were buying seed at about 500 Ghana cedi per bag on the preferred seed, and you need about 2 of that to plant an acre. Okay, so these are fixed costs that you have.
So are you saying that the people who produce the maize produce more than we could consume, but because the cost of production is high, they couldn't sell it at a price that poultry farmers could buy?
Exactly.
So does that mean that we are where are we storing the maize then?
But have you gone on the market?
Well, because one of the things you said you are going to do is to build infrastructure and what do you call it, storage. So the assumption then is that there isn't even proper storage of the maize produced.
Every week, I have maize in the various markets, okay, the major markets in the country. I have the maize that has entered all these markets. And I know that maize is available. It is not necessarily the case that if maize is available, it must be kept in a warehouse somewhere. For me, if maize is available, maize must be on the market. If you walk to the market today, are you able to find maize? That is what I'm interested in. So if you ask me where is the maize is on the market.
So you are saying even though there is more maize than we consume, we can't expect the price to come down because the cost of producing the maize is high.
The cost of producing the maize and the distribution. Because that same 250 kg bag, okay, that costs 250 cedis in Tamale, or at maximum 270. If you come down south, the price is about 400, 450. That is a problem. And that is a problem that PFJ2...
Well, no problem. PFJ2 is not on trial because this is at the beginning of PFJ2. Yeah. But PFJ1 needs to answer questions because if you've spent almost 3 billion on a program and almost all the stated objectives, for example, you talk about import substitution. That was the same thing they said about PFJ1.
But it's worked. But I'm saying that, but you see, Bernard, you cannot roll out a policy and expect 100% results. You can't. First of all, when you start rolling out the policy, there will be resistance. And then when you start implementing, there will be gaps. When you go through the gaps, you will have some successes and you will still have some gaps. And then so you try and fix these things. I don't want to believe that at our level we'll be suggesting that PFJ should have been a static program, not come under review to deal with all our problems.
So did you review PFJ1?
But that's what we have done.
So where's the report? Because the question is, if the public is to buy into PFJ2, we must agree with what PFJ1 achieved and what it did not.
But have you, I don't mind sharing that.
It will be good for the public.
But I'm saying I don't mind sharing the PFJ2 document, which captures the successes and the gaps of PFJ1. And I'm saying that there were major successes in the implementation of PFJ1. And I want you to ramp those communication up to Ghanaians to be happy with the success, and at the same time look at the gaps and how we are trying to use PFJ 2.0 to address those gaps. But to blanket say that PFJ1 was a failure, but I don't think that we can agree.
But you admit that the fertilizer subsidy program was not successful? Even if you...
Says who? But fertilizer...
But isn't that why you discontinued it?
No, fertilizer usage has gone up from 8 kilograms per hectare to 25 kilograms per hectare. Prior to that, there was no application of mass fertilizer in this country. That is a fact.
We are talking about the smuggling of fertilizer because of the price differential and the fact that a targeted subsidy did not reach the intended market, for which reason Cote d'Ivoire and other countries were getting our fertilizer.
There's something in propaganda studies called stacking. Fertilizer is being smuggled, fertilizer is being smuggled, and then you believe that the
former minister even admitted this.
No, but I'm saying that the fact that somebody has smuggled some 2 bags, 3 bags out of the country doesn't mean that the 300,000 metric tons that we were importing, applying on PFJ1 was being smuggled. Do you understand? Other than
but was that not why the minister even suspended the program? Because there was so much smuggling.
No,
there was no... I'm not trying... Are you telling me that fertilizer smuggling was not one of the reasons why the program was cancelled?
No.
The fertilizer subsidy program?
No. Faf, I'm not also saying that fertilizer was not smuggled. That is not what I'm saying. But not on the scale that we're saying that the PFJ fertilizer program was being cancelled because all the fertilizer was smuggled. Of course, some fertilizer was smuggled. We are human, it's a human society. It will happen. But we believe that in the PFJ1, one of the key issues was access to capital. Okay, and the subsidy program as was being implemented will not solve the access to capital issue. And so let's change that subsidy model into an input credit model. For example, and I'll use this very basic example. If fertilizer is 100 Ghana cedis, okay, and I give you a subsidy of 15%, that you need to come out on your own upfront 85 Ghana cedis
to get 100 cedi worth of fertilizer.
Exactly. Okay. Now that 85 Ghana cedis, if you go and borrow at 40%, it will now come back to principal and interest. You will now pay about 119 to 120 Ghana cedis.
So the subsidy doesn't solve the problem if the underlying financing cost is not solved.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then where lies the subsidy? So PFJ2, what we are trying to do is now to give you the fertilizer at 100 cedis.
Okay.
Do you understand? Which then makes that you have saved 20 Ghana cedis, and you don't have to come out of pocket to pay that. But then what also happens is that this smuggling thing that you are talking about, that you believe...
The incentive will not be there.
Wonderful. Why so? Because the fertilizer is being sold in Ghana for 100 Ghana cedi, Togo for 100 Ghana cedi.
Oh, so you admit that
Burkina,
the price differential influences the smuggling?
But it definitely will.
And which is what is used... No, I'm just saying that I'm happy you admit it, because initially you made it seem as if it was... The whole focus on smuggling was on propaganda. That's the impression I got.
I mean, some smuggling and a lot of propaganda.
No, but, well, fair enough. So in the example you are giving, if I get it at 100, the incentive to smuggle is not there.
No.
But how do I pay for it?
Yes, so that's why we've set up, today, thanks to the government policy on digitization, everybody has a Ghana card. Now, if you have a land, we link your Ghana card to the polygon map of your farm. Today, we are able to track any activity on your farm to the maize that is planted. We know when you planted the seed. We know the first week what is supposed. Of course.
For all farms? Or the major ones?
Every farm in this country, we are able to track what is happening on the farm with technology. And
you are going to do it, or you have done it?
That's what we are going to do.
Okay, I just want to be sure. Because I know some farms that I haven't seen any device there. No, so this is something you intend to do?
But
no, just to be clear, because I'm sure there are farmers listening who say, Bernard, how come this man say they do the size of... Because
it is already being done by some people in this country. It's not something
every farm
in Ghana today. If I want to know when you cleared your land, I will know. If I want to know the first week of your maize, I will know. Week 3, week 4, up to month 3, up to when you harvested the crop through technology.
All farms in Ghana?
Every piece of land.
What technology are you using for that?
It's a satellite. It's there. It's open technology. It's not even something that we are now going to develop. It's there. So, and because we know we are backing fertilizer distributors that give Bernard this.
Give him the fertilizer.
Give him the input. Okay.
How do you guarantee that I'll pay?
Exactly. I'm saying that the system that we have put in place through the aggregator and the extension officers who are with you, helping you achieve the yield. Because we are also interested in the yield. So it is important that we give you an extension officer to help you with proper agronomic services. And an aggregator who is there to collect the yield. And so they are working with you on the farm, and we're going to have them everywhere in this country. Whichever farmer is on the program is going to be able to access this service. So when we have given you, we believe in you.
You give me the fertilizer and the seed or whatever I need.
Yes.
At the right price.
Yes.
You are saying that by tracking what I do, you can tell if I'll be in a position to produce X amount based on the application of the fertilizer and all those things.
Yes. We know the projected.
So then, how do I get the money to pay for it?
At the end of the harvest, okay, if it costs you 1,000 Ghana cedis, all the things that we have given you, and you make 3,000 Ghana cedis, through the aggregator, we will extract the 1,000 Ghana cedis, not in cash, but in the commodity that we invested in. So if it is sorghum, rice, grain, we will extract the value, which has been determined pre-season. That today, a bag of maize is 250 Ghana cedis. Okay, so at the harvest, we are going to take 4 bags, which will be 1,000 Ghana cedis. Okay, as payment for all the things that we gave you. And then you now keep the rest of the...
So you are not going to demand money from me?
No.
You will we'll explore that when we come back. This is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like you are introducing barter. You give me inputs, I give you products.
Straight up.
We'll talk about that. We're talking to Bryan Acheampong, he's the Minister for Food and Agriculture. PFJ 2.0 was launched by the President on, was it Monday or Tuesday? I'm not sure now. This week in Tamale. And Mr. Acheampong believes that it's going to work, that the food production will increase in leaps and bounds. We'll test some of those when we come back. Stay with us.
Looking to travel abroad this September, October, and November? Well, there's good news. Selk International Travel and Tour offers you another opportunity to travel to Singapore, to Canada, to France, and Dubai. Experience these tourist sites: Paris City, Disneyland Paris, Singapore City, Marina Bay Sands, and many more attractions. Experience these countries with ease with Selk International Travel and Tour. Package includes visa assistance, travel insurance, hotel and breakfast, selected attractions, internal transportation. Package fees: Paris tour $2,300, Singapore tour $1,350, Canada tour $4,950, and Dubai tour $1,540. If you are interested, take action now and get registered with Selk International Travel and Tour. Call our WhatsApp 059 272 5757 or 020 382 1113. Email info@selkgroup.com. Registration ends by 30th of August for most of the trips. Selk International Travel and Tour. The world, our mission. The people, our passion.
Welcome back. So tonight my guest is Bryan Acheampong. We're trying to understand PFJ 2.0. The main feature, at least in the view of some of us, of PFJ 1 was the input subsidy, particularly fertilizer, where the government will subsidize fertilizer. Now PFJ 2.0, according to the minister, is a smart agric input credit, which is trying to explain that he will give you the input, whether it's seed or fertilizer, at the right price, and you will pay back with produce. He's also saying that they will know if you are applying it because there's a whole system that maps your farm. But you have not legislated for drought, adverse weather, fire, or me being lazy and therefore my farm doesn't produce. So if you give me that 1,000 cedis worth of inputs, and then for some reason I'm not able to generate 3,000 worth of products, I only generate 800. It means you've lost 200. So how are you going to prevent that from happening, since my production is not in your control?
Well, we will insure against force majeure, fire, climate issues and all that. We insure.
Insure?
Yes.
But is there agric insurance in Ghana?
Oh yes, there is.
Really?
You see, this is
the companies don't do agric insurance.
This is coming up to develop a whole new market, and I have received at least about 3 proposals from insurance companies to join the PFJ. And if I had their permission, I would have mentioned their name because they are also trying to be patriotic.
To insure farmers?
Yes.
Against some of the things you are talking about, including force majeure?
But the only reason why they are not doing the insurance, because there's not a system of trust, of check.
Okay.
But if now all these systems are coming in place, then they are comfortable to ensure it. Look, if we give you a seed, okay, we are not saying that go and put the seed in the mark in your house and go and plant it on another farm and tell us that no. You are working with an extension officer. You are working with an aggregator, okay? So we are helping you because we are interested in the yield. We are helping you with the planting. We are helping you with agronomic practices. The second application of fertilizer, we are there to work with you. The harvest, we are bringing machinery to work with you. So it's not like we are giving you the seed and say goodbye, we'll see you at the end of harvest. No. We are working, the system is going to work with you. And this is what we're developing.
Is this for all scales of farmers?
Well, we're hoping that people will now scale up to, what we call semi-commercial, the boundaries of 5 acres and above. We're not going to leave out those with one plot and all those things. But we're hoping to scale up, move people from their one plot to 1 acre, hopefully to 5 acres to start. Because if you are just cropping on one plot, Bernard, you know that when it comes to national food security, you cannot count.
So let me just try and understand something. One of the problems with the rice has been the low yield per hectare. Indeed, during your vetting, you pointed out that we have 3 metric tons per hectare for rice, whereas Cross River State in Nigeria, that's 10. How will PFJ2 ensure that a farmer in the Fumbisi Rice Valley or in Aveime increases his rice from 3 metric tons per hectare to say even 6 or 7?
I've been screaming on top of my voice when we started this show, good agronomic practices, good agronomic practices, good agronomic practices. That is one. The second one is the quality of the seed. The quality of the seed that we have in this country, the yields are naturally low. And therefore, we're going to bring in more improved seeds. And then the requisite fertilizer. Bernard, if you have seeds and you have fertilizer and you have regular agronomic service, or you don't have any agronomic service, you won't get a yield. But if you have the right seed and the right application of fertilizer, okay, and proper agronomic practices on the farm, you can hit that yield. A lot of the farmers in this country don't have any of this. They buy seeds, okay, and do open cast, okay, they buy fertilizer and just apply it and expect yields. You won't get there. In fact, some countries are producing more than 20 metric tons per hectare. We are doing 3. And that's why we keep insisting that proper agronomic practices
but Bryan, I could say
with
that
the right seed,
under PFJ1,
you will get the yield.
PFJ1 could argue that they had extension officers. In fact, I remember the former minister talked about more extension officers being released.
2,700 is what PFJ1 added to the...
So if you say you are going to guarantee or ensure higher productivity by better agronomic practices, is it that you are going to supervise them better? Because these are trained people. So if under previous programs our yield is lower compared to comparator countries, is it by you just telling them to... I don't know what you are going to put in place to ensure that the rice productivity per hectare will go up.
You see,
you get me? I'm not getting
currently, we have 1 to about 970 ratio per extension officer. 1 extension officer to about 900 farmers. Chairman, how is that possible?
Small farmers.
Yes. How is that going to work? How is that going to... And this extension officer is supposed to go to all these farms within a month and check how they're doing. We have to reduce the ratio. And as part of PFJ2, we're going to solve
Bryan,
that.
does the answer not lie in having fewer larger scale farmers? Because in a lot of the countries we see, when agricultural productivity becomes more, fewer people are farming. In Israel, the percentage of population in farming is not that high, but their productivity is higher. So is the answer not rather in saying, let's rather identify 100 large-scale farmers and push them? Because small-scale farmers, by their nature of training, by the way they see the farm, by the small size of the land, by the threat of galamsey, are not built to be very productive.
We are not there yet. We are not there yet. In Amsterdam, and as you keep using that country as an example, they have 51,000 farms with about 200,000 farmers, the second largest exporters of agricultural produce in the world, with just 200,000 people, cropping on 2 million hectares of land, which is more land. We have more land in the northern region alone than they do in the whole of the Netherlands. Okay,
and yet they produce better than us.
Listen,
yeah.
in northern region,
yeah,
we have 2.3 million hectares of arable land. Not all of the 5 northern regions. I'm
just nothing.
With the capital Tamale.
Wow.
Excluding Upper East, Upper West.
Yeah.
We have 2.3 million hectares of arable land. All of Netherlands, they have 2 million hectares of.
So we have more land in just one of our 5 northern regions than the whole of Netherlands.
Yes,
but yet they are our number one of the places we import a lot of food from.
And the second largest exporters of agricultural produce in the world, Netherlands. Why? Because of good agronomic practices and the yields that they get from their farms. We have 3.5 million farmers. So in as much as you want to focus on large-scale production to solve your food problem very quickly, you still have people.
But they can be outgrowers for you. So that if you have if you have somebody with a big investment in rice, these people can keep their farms, but this guy can help them in managing their tiny farms.
But that's what we are doing. This is you have actually explained one of the ways that we are ramping up production under PFJ 2.0, because you can't keep those people unemployed. You need to get them employed. If farming is what they want to get into, let's help them so that, and let them get good price, good value for what they produce. And if they, for poultry, for example, we have only about 7 or so processors in this country, and we have close to about 2,000 outgrowers. We want to now link all these outgrowers to just 9 processors. So all the outgrowers are going to support the processors. Okay, so Boris B, for example, is a processor. We're going to give him 900 outgrowers to produce for him to process. It's the same thing. If you have a major processor in a region through the aggregator system, they can have a lot of outgrowers. Indeed, if you go to major farming regions, especially the northern region and part of western region, these outgrower schemes are what aggregators are doing. This module that we're talking about, I saw that in the NDC press statement, that private agro dealers and aggregators have been implementing various forms of input credit schemes in the country. So what will this bring? But it's exactly what we are trying to do. If the private sector is already doing it, and it's beneficial, profitable for them, we just want to scale it.
How are you going to finance the input that you are going to give to a farmer, which you are going to give to him on a barter basis? Because as I keep reminding you, spent 2.6 billion on PFJ1 in 4 years.
Okay.
So how are you going to do this?
I have seen a contract from one off-taker, okay, one organization, to an aggregator of about 25 million Ghana cedis to mobilize sorghum for that off-taker. In our case, we want this off-taker to deal with Ghana Commodity Exchange and their bankers. Listen, I'm answering your question.
Yes.
We want this off-taker to deal with Ghana Commodity Exchange and their bankers. Ghana Commodity Exchange and their bankers, we are telling them that tell the fertilizer supplier to give Bernard the seed and fertilizer. Bernard will bring the produce to us, and then you release the money. So that is how we are facilitating this thing. It is not money that we are taking from the central.
So the person will pay. Okay, but why will you keep the produce I give you as a farmer?
Well, the off-takers are there.
So they will keep it?
They will take it. Either they are taking it and storing it.
Oh, so the product doesn't come to you?
No, not necessarily.
I see.
But because it's not my money.
So you are just a facilitator?
Yes. What do we call it? The market queens who are carrying money, cash, to go to Niger to buy the tomatoes and the onions. We are telling them to put the money in the bank, and we guarantee that Bernard will produce the onion and then come for their money. That is all we're saying.
Are you going to use law to discourage imports? The reason I ask this is that for some of the products you want to produce, again, I have data from your own ministry on chicken. The average price of a kilogram of chicken imported is much, much cheaper than the chicken we produce.
Give me the
here.
price.
So if you go into the data, just give me a minute. Just give me a second.
Because I know that the locally produced chicken is about 42 cedis per kg. And the domestic, the imported ones, are not any different in terms of price. You'll probably be looking at about 38 Ghana cedis per kg.
The spread between the price per kg for imported frozen chicken and local chicken it's increased to about 10 cedis.
Yeah.
So the imported frozen chicken
time?
is cheaper up to 2021.
Yes, but let's try and use 2023 figures. And I'm saying that the difference is not much. The difference is about between, in some cases, 2 to 5 cities. Even now, what they're doing is that because the importers realize that Ghanaians prefer the fresh Ghana chicken, when they import the chicken, they thaw it. And so when you go, you think that it's made in Ghana chicken. Because Ghanaians prefer the fresh, organic chicken made in Ghana compared to the imported chicken that was produced under conditions that we don't.
So the question really I'm asking is that would you then encourage some quota system on the importers so that beyond, and this could be for rice or for chicken, beyond the fact that maybe Ghanaians prefer local chicken, the fact that importers have a lot of money and are able to bring in a lot, the so-called dumping, are you going to work with the trade minister to say we also need to restrict imports so that the local producers can get a chance to compete? That's where the real question is.
Have we legislated the importation of yam into this country? Because we are the second largest producers of yam in the world. Nobody imports yam. But if there was a gap in the production of yam, the way Ghanaians like their bayere and their yam, we'll be importing yam. And I'm saying that if we ramp up our production, okay, to our consumption, or we exceed our consumption, the business people will not find it profitable to import the chicken or the rice or the maize, just like we are not importing yam. But if there is a shortage, business people will fill in the gap. So we don't have to legislate. We just have to do it right.
Because although I agree with you, but when you look at rice and chicken, the countries that produce those products are very powerful. Even at the WTO level, they subsidize their producers by billions. So that may not be the same for yam. So whilst your point may be generally true as a statement, Ghana is one of the top producers of yam in the world, probably after Nigeria. But if you look at the US chicken farmers...
Not after Nigeria, we are number one.
Well, the last data I checked, Nigeria produces more tubers collectively than Ghana.
That's what I number one. Maybe you are allowed 2021.
No problem. But the point, the real question is the level of support for yam in other developed markets not the same as rice and chicken. So your answer, I don't agree. If you say that, well, if we produce, it means that nobody will bring. No, because yam is different.
No.
Yam is different.
A couple of minutes ago, I told you that.
Yeah.
Even if you exceed your production, because of the taste buds of certain people, okay, there will be a market for importation, okay. But as far as I'm concerned, for a majority of Ghanaians, if the products are made in Ghana and they are comparatively of the same price, they will choose the made in Ghana rice. Because the made in Ghana rice, well, I remember you started a campaign on rice, and there was rice shortage in Ghana at the time. You realize that even the quality of the rice that was being milled in this country was not that high. Today, the millets, they produce perfume rice. Yes, so the product quality has increased.
All right, let me just give you the data I was given. So between 2018 and 2021, the average price per kilogram of imported chicken moved from 14 cedis to 15. But domestic chicken moved from 19 to 25. So in 2021, domestic was 25, imported was 15. So that's a 10 CD differential.
Yeah.
And then the other point is that the imported chicken is frozen. Some could be older. So there's a strong view, and I know that Trade Ministry is discussing this, that they should give the importers certain import quotas so that if our producers begin to produce more, they can stand the chance of competing.
It's the other way around. We only produce 4% of what we consume. We produce 15,000 metric tons as against 340,000 metric tons that we consume. Okay, so we can't begin to talk about legislation when we have not ramped up production. And that's what I'm saying, that when you look at rice, okay, we have, our import has dropped from 980,000 metric tons to 550,000 metric tons. And the only reason is that production has gone up to 49% of what we consume. So it tells you that the more you ramp up your production, imports drop. So we shouldn't start the conversation with legislate, but we will produce. That in itself will let prices go up.
So you think we should produce before we legislate?
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
Some of the importers will agree with you, but I do know, maybe they don't know, I do know that there are plans by government to introduce these restrictions.
I'm part of government.
In rice and chicken.
But I'm saying I'm part of government. I'm part of the cabinet.
So this hasn't come before cabinet?
But I'm saying that the whole concept of ban is some reasoning that will get into cabinet. Okay, but when you give the data that yes, today it's fancy to say that Ghana has banned the importation of chicken, and then I have a consumption gap that I cannot meet. The 15%, that 15,000 metric tons that we produce, the price will go to.
But some will say that the rice producers have increased their production very well, and they could make a case for this kind of import restriction.
Whilst you go, when you begin to say that, then you don't have to repeat that PFJ has failed. When you agree and admit that rice importers are saying that production has gone up.
No, not rice importers, but don't forget that we did a rice production campaign in 2019. So I do understand that there was a lot of interest, in addition to whatever PFJ did, in ramping up rice production.
But I hear you.
Yes.
Give credit to PFJ. We didn't get to the mark that you wanted to, but I just wanted, since you made that point, I wanted to chip that in.
Okay.
You know.
You will take that credit. Fair enough.
Very kind.
When we come back, we'll try and just tie up the loose ends. Hopefully, the PFJ 2.0 is making sense to you. And the other question is, so if you're a farmer, how excited are you about the PFJ 2.0? Are you going to take it up? If you're not a farmer yet, would you invest in agriculture? Having listened to the minister talk about PFJ 2.0, stay with us.
Finally, anyone can become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated funds, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Welcome. My guest is still Bryan Acheampong. He's the Minister for Food and Agriculture. The minority in Parliament issued a press statement August 30, and that's earlier today on Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2. Lots of things they said, but they had 11 questions for you, and I have only 10 minutes. So I'll read some of the questions, and I'll ask you to answer them as quickly as you can. So they're saying, number one, the government of Ghana approved 600 million CDs, 60 million CDs for PFJ this year. Now, since PFJ was ended way back December last year, what are you going to do with the 660 million?
PFJ, this is just 1.0, this is 2.0. It's still PFJ.
Oh, so the budget anticipated PFJ 2.0?
No, it didn't anticipate, but it anticipated PFJ. And we are still doing PFJ.
So,
in any case,
so in Parliament, it's the same program?
It's PFJ. This is a reviewed, renewed program.
PFJ. So the 660 will go into it?
It's allocated to Ministry of Food and Agriculture for the production of crops. And that's
but since you are not going to do the subsidy, what will you use the money for? Because in PFJ, when you are doing subsidy, so it was costing us. Yes. But now you've brought a new way, input.
But don't forget
credit.
that, and those in Parliament, they know that because of the way the subsidy is, when they gave money for 2023, it was to pay for the inputs that have been supplied in 2022. So a big chunk of that money is going into the payment of the bills for 2022. So the money will be well spent.
Question 4. In what exact ways are you going to get financial products to agribusinesses at so-called reduced interest rates?
Bernard, let me bring you to question 3.
No, you mentioned that already.
No, it is important that...
You can't set your own questions now.
I beg you.
I'm asking you the question that I think is relevant.
I'm helping the examiner set the question.
No, you can't do that.
Because you know the reason why?
Why?
They are telling us all the questions that they ask, the 11 questions, is answered in 3.
Okay, which is
They're saying that private agro dealers and aggregators have been implementing various forms of input credit schemes to farmers for many years now. What exactly this new PFJ input credit will do differently? It will not do anything differently. It will do what the private sector has been doing for many years. The private sector has been involved in this input credit system and it is profitable and it has worked. Indeed, if you go up north, almost all the outgrower schemes are based on the input credit system. And a lot of companies are involved with that. What we are trying to do is to make it a national program. So if they admit that it has worked, okay, and the private sector is engaged in, and that's why we say that the second pillar of PFJ 2.0 is the involvement of the private sector. This is exactly, so if they say that it has worked, then this is what we want to do. So all the other questions that they are asking, if they admit.
Well, the import of question 4 was about the reduced interest rate. Question 3 was a general, and viewers will put these questions on the screen. They are basically not sure how you are going to get the interest rates to come down.
Do they know about a guest out program? We have an agri-financing scheme that offers up to 10% interest on agriculture. We want to ramp up these schemes, okay? But in any case, this financing is going to go towards working capital because the input section has been taken care of. Do you understand? So the working capital is where we want Gesal and Co. to come in. We've had
to provide a credit guarantee.
To provide the credit at reduced interest rate for working capital.
I see. I thought Gesal's job was credit guarantee and then the bank will give the credit. I didn't know Gesal.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Whether they give, at the end of the day, through programs, schemes like that, farmers will get reduced.
They have a question for you. Question 6.
Rates.
How will you achieve import substitution for critical commodities like rice, maize, and poultry since you have no measure in place to reduce input or production costs?
This question is confusing.
But you told me that the input cost was one of the main reasons why the poultry thing was not getting the feed.
We don't produce the inputs, especially the fertilizer. The seed is what we are putting investment in local seed producers. So it is not necessary. Ghanaians have come to accept that a bag of maize is 250 Ghana cedis. For me, if in the next 3-4 years I can keep the price of a bag of maize at 250 Ghana cedis, I'll be happy. But don't forget that if we keep talking about bring down price of food, what are we telling the farmers? Because for the farmers too, it's business. But currently, we have a certain set price. My job is to make sure that we're keeping that price over a long period of time. Okay? And then food inflation, if that happens, will now be in single digit.
How are you going to protect the agribusiness, question 7, against risk of no or under recovery of produce from beneficiary smallholder farmers? I think I hinted this question in the example you gave.
The insert there is aggregators working closely with the farmers to ensure that the goods are recovered. And if there's any force majeure, the insurance kicks in.
What is the exact start date the farmers will begin to benefit from government's integrated small input credit program?
We're hoping to start. Don't forget that we have major programs ongoing. Okay, we have almost 500 through SADEP and SIP. Okay, I have over 500 million cedis of input currently being distributed in the country. So some of these social agriculture is not going to change. Okay, but from from September 15th, this Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 will start, and those who sign on will get their...
Question 9 is a similar question I asked. Who would hold the produce stock at the end of each production season? Government or private businesses?
Government's money is not in it, so government is not going to hold stock. What we are hoping to do is to take a percentage of the stock, okay, from GCX and hold a strategic stock for buffer stock.
So that will be, but the majority of the stock will be held by private businesses.
Yes, it's not government's money. We
Question 10: what are the top 3 commodities for the short term out of the 11 crops selected for promotion in PFJ Phase 2 that can drive current high food prices down?
Always embarrassing onion, tomatoes, and then rice and maize. But the focus is
rice, maize, and then the 2 vegetables. Rice, maize, onion, tomato.
Yes, but the focus...
For jollof. Because onion, tomato, rice, jollof.
Yes, the focus is on the 10 crops and broilers.
But your priority, if you are pushed, is rice, maize.
Don't forget that I have, in Ministry of Agriculture, we deal with a lot of crops. We deal with a lot of livestock and small ruminants. But the focus is on poultry and broilers.
Final question, what is the cost of PFJ 2.0 and who will be funding? Where will its funding come from since it wasn't provided for in the 2023 budget?
The 2023 budget that we have is sufficient. Whatever is left.
For the 660 million?
Whatever is left of it is enough to jumpstart.
Which means that next year budget will also give another allocation for PFJ?
Well, whatever we need to drive PFJ in 2024, when we discuss with Ministry of Finance, the allocation...
Does that mean that Rearing for Food and Jobs is over? Because Rearing for Food and Jobs started in 2019 and ended in 2023.
Ministry of Food and Agriculture works with all livestock, and it will continue to do that. But the focus on PFJ 2.0 will be poultry. Doesn't mean that the ministry will not exist for all crops and livestock and small ruminants.
So if people want more information as farmers, should they come to the ministry, go to your website?
September 15th, when we launch the program,
okay.
When we start the program, all this information will be out, and through mediums like...
Okay, so in 2 weeks' time?
Yes.
All right, so in 2 weeks' time, the ministry would roll out the program, and then we can see where the chips will fall. Thank you, Bryan Acheampong. Always good talking to you. He's the Minister for Food and Agriculture, and he says PFJ 2.0 will deal with our food security problems, and more importantly, bring food prices down, hopefully before Christmas. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.